Hello people, thank you for joining us today again on the program Woman to Woman. I'm adorable Adesuwa Osa Uwage. How do we raise kids to be leaders of tomorrow? How do we raise our kids in a friendly environment? How do we take violence out of raising our kids? This is what we want to look at today, based on the fact that something happened. I saw something on the net. Everybody was talking about it, and it gave me cause for concern. But before we go into what we have today, let's quickly introduce our guest to us. Yes, I want to introduce my guest to you. She's Didi Ekpeyong, and she's a mother, and she's also raising children. She loves children, and she advocates for kids too. So hello, Didi.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Okay, it's nice to have you on the program.
Thank you.
All right, we're looking at raising our kids in a very, very beautiful way without violence. Okay, how did you put it the other time?
Raising violence-free kids.
Yes, raising violence-free kids. That's what we want to look at today on the program Woman to Woman. Of course, you know who the kids are. They are our children, you know, on the 18, yes, because from 18 and above, they are considered to be adults. And violence, we all know what violence is. When you do something that is, you know, unimaginable, very forceful, very harsh way. And in this context, we're looking at our children. How do we raise violent-free children? Now, the other day, I was browsing, going to the net, and I saw this story that took my attention. You know, I tried to ignore it, but I just couldn't. You know, where it was stated that an 11-year-old child committed suicide. Now, in the first instance, who told an 11-year-old child about suicide? Where did an 11-year-old child get this idea of suicide, that one can take his or her life? You know, that is violence. That is just too much. And it got me thinking that how did we get to this point where children will take arm against themselves? We're talking about children under 18. You know, will take up arms against themselves. You see little children stabbing themselves with bottles, with knives, and all sort of that. Where did they get that from? What kind of parenting are we giving our kids? Didi, where did we get it all wrong?
Well, I think it starts right from the home. What's going on in the home? It's before we begin to talk about social media outside, maybe the school, or that starts from the home. Yeah, from home. What they are seeing in the house, the kind of words being thrown about, the way the parents are living, even in the home. You know, before we begin to talk about the neighborhood.
So how should parents live? How should husband and wife live in a home? Because whatever we do affects our children. You know, like there's this adage in Yoruba language that says the parents are the mirror in which the children look into. So you are like the mirror your children see. You are the first contact of your kids. So how should husband and wife live in a home? We know that there must be quarrel, but how should they live?
They should be conscious of the fact that they are bringing up kids. There's no way I'm going to paint with this, or maybe try to make
Please
it
don't
look
paint.
You know,
don't paint. That's just
because it's their responsibility to bring these children up mentally, socially, physically. You know, they should go about it consciously. There are some things you may want to say when you're provoked, but when you're conscious of the fact that there are kids in the house, you should set boundaries. When there's a misunderstanding between a man and a woman and kids around, there are things that you should just take in and hold it in because kids are around. So if you're conscious of the fact that how you raise your children matter, there are many things you're not going to be allowing around your house.
You know, most times we're as parents, we're quick to telling our children to do this, do that,
well,
do that, don't do this, don't do that.
That's being authoritative.
We dish out orders.
That's being authoritative.
We dish out orders to our kids. But what do? I was talking to somebody the other day, and the person said, do what I say, don't do what I do. Okay, you know, so how is it possible for our kids to do what we say and do not do what we do?
Well, that's a hard one. we are not going to think the children will not do what we do. They are watching us, they are going to emulate. At tender age is what they see that they are going to start. If they see that, oh, this is how mommy shouts, this is how daddy shouts, believe you me, they go out there and they shout, and there's not going to be any much difference between a child that is being brought up by a woman or man that is not, does not realize that violence or the kind of language they use in the house matters. It must show. There's no way you're going to hide it, It's going to show that, oh, this is what is happening in the home. The way a child acts outside, if you take time to, on a higher percentage, when you take time to look into it, it's from the home. So there's no pretending around it or going like, oh, it's somewhere else. And what is allowed in the home too? Social media. What kind of movies are your kids watching? When you're in the house, when you're not in the house. We see parental guidance or whatever. Do we make use of these features? They are there on our DSTV, Go TV, whatever. But parents, do we have the time to really sit down and go like, no, I have a 5-year-old child. Shouldn't be watching a movie that is for 16-year-old teenagers. We have to take responsibility. We can't just sit around and say, oh, our children will not behave the way we are behaving. We must comport ourselves so that our kids too will know how to comport themselves. Okay, let's take it one after the other. Let's start from this scenario I painted where a young child committed suicide. She actually wrote a letter to the mom, saying, the mom was in the habit of using like derogatory words, harsh words, violent words, as the case may be, on the child, because when she got pregnant, the man abandoned her and the pregnancy. She gave birth to the child, and she never loved the child. Perhaps no woman would give birth and would not love the child. I'm sure it's the circumstances surrounding the birth, perhaps societal norms, and of course the kind of treatment she got from her family. Maybe her family did not accept the child or whatever, but you see, she was always telling the child that, look, I never wanted you. I didn't want you. I don't want to see you. You make me sick. Words like that. So, I don't want you. You make me sad. Okay. And the child wrote a letter to the mom. I love you so much. And because I want you to be happy, he's going to go away. He's going to go away so that she can be happy. And how did that child went away? The child committed suicide. So okay. I'm just trying to imagine how that woman will feel. What are the kind of words we should say to our kids? How do we know that sometimes these kids can be very annoying. Yes, oh my word, except of course you have not gone through that route. Yeah. Sometimes they can be so annoying. They make you so sick, you don't know what to do, and often the time we find ourselves yelling. But where do we make that mark? They say, oh, I shouldn't cross this line, because the moment some of us get so angry that you don't really care what you're saying. Transferred aggression now. Exactly. So she transferred aggression onto the child, and the child felt that, okay, this woman does not want me, even though I love her so much. Okay, let me go away. And then the woman, and then the child. In developed countries, what you see, women like this type that you're describing, most of them are taken to rehabilitation centers. Social welfare workers will take the children, because a neighbor won't really be noticing or seeing that you're battering a child or you're being nasty to a child, and they'll keep quiet. Somebody will call social welfare. But do we really have such features in Nigeria? We don't have such amenities. No. What's the level of discipline we can dish out to our children? We are supposed to, even if you shout on a child or you are trying, it's supposed to be corrective. Whatever punishment, whatever rebuke you're giving to a child, it's supposed to be corrective, not punitive. You're not supposed to be so crazy and shout on a child. And even if you do, as you are correcting the child that way, you're supposed to pet the child. But how do they say it? With the left hand or right hand, you scold a child. Later, you still pet the child back and make the child to understand that, look, I just want you to turn out right. I want life to be better for you. It's not just about being so nasty and treating a child like the child is responsible for your woes. You know that in our days, growing up was fantastic, where the parents believe in
they we're not going to like save the rod.
And
Okay, we must, you know how it is. If you misbehave at home, if you do not do your chores, you do not do your homework, you do not, you honestly, if you are out of line, what our parents did then was to whip you into line with very beautiful cane, you know. There is this water cane my mother used to keep. You know, when one is broken, she replaces it, you know. There's this fantastic water cane. And then she will whip you into line. All right? My mother does not shout.
Many parents these days don't even have time to do that.
But she whip you into line. But these days, if you whip a child to some extent, it becomes an abuse. There are ways you yell at a child, it becomes abuse. There are ways you talk to your child, it becomes abuse. Exactly how do we whip our children into line without it's, you know, looking as if we're abusing the child physically or emotionally or whatever way?
Well,
no, it beats me because you don't actually know what to do before your kids will say, look, I know my rights. Kids are actually saying that to their parents nowadays. Mom, I know my rights. I didn't ask to be born. So you must do this for me. It is my right. And of course, the children didn't ask to be born. And so when you have them, you should be able to like talk to them. But exactly how should we discipline our kids so that it doesn't turn out to be abuse?
Well, we should just know where to draw the line.
Where do we draw the line, Didi?
You know, and look, if you say your child is so naughty and your child is always up to mischief, how are you occupying that child? Get that child occupied. Get that child busy doing something, you know, productive. You know, you can't just keep children all day like, okay, there's COVID-19, everybody is indoors and whatever. How are you occupying the children? If they are being so naughty, maybe they are just throwing tantrums because they are bored, they don't have anything doing. So let's first look at what is causing their tantrums and maybe we'll take it from there.
All right, let's look at this child and say, I'm so particular. Okay, there was another one I saw where a child was asked to say sorry. And then she was throwing tantrums and making so much noise. And some person just came out of nowhere and said, whip that child. Another said, no, hit her very hard. Another said, snap the child very well. Another said, whip her into line. The man didn't answer. It was the father, the best father. That was what that story was tagged. You know, and the father explained to the child, no, you must say sorry, just from the words, just from the words, and the words will come out, and you will feel good. Say sorry to your sister for hurting her, you know. And then after a while, the child was able to like, you know, oh, I'm sorry. And just then somebody ran into the girl without even saying sorry, and she went away. And the girl was like, what kind of adults are these? You know, the adults are not setting good examples. So, number one, parents do quarrel at home, and nobody wants to say sorry. And then the relationship will keep, you know, the parents will put, there's always strife, and then the relationships start dividing without them even realizing that they are going apart. Parents fight, they don't say sorry. Parents fight and they use derogatory words on each other. So the kids without minding that the kids are there. And then tomorrow you see your kids repeating same. And you want to whip that child into line. How does it work?
Because some kids can actually tell you that, boy, you did it. But mommy, you did it yesterday now. I told my boy, please stop soaking your bread in your tea. But mommy, you did it the other day. Okay. So they're actually watching you. They watch what you know, do, it's not what you say. Live the life that, you know, it's not going to hurt your children, or it's not going to turn them to animals outside, or it's not going to make people question your parenting.
You know, the environment is harsh, so to speak. Yes. You see parents who are out of jobs. Both parents can be out of job and they are struggling. They have bills to pay. Or you see sometimes one or two parents they'll be sick, you know, without having money for medical attention. There's so many pressure, particularly on the father. There's so many pressure. He's got to pay bills, school fees is there, you know, all sort of bills, from electricity bills, and, you know, the pressure is so much. And then you ask such a man not to yell, not to shout, not to push the frustration on the children. it's difficult because I'm trying to like put myself in the place of such a parent, and you're asking me not to yell.
It's a wide field. Look, the world is changing, everything is changing. Just have the number of children you think you can take care of. Don't have them many. 1 or 2, 3. Well, I'm not in a position to tell you what to do, but I think we should just try to cut our coat according to the
number of children. I don't think the number
because you can't, if you're saying you're struggling, you're trying to cope with jobs and whatever, maybe you're not being able to meet your needs with your pay. I mean, stop reaching out for things you cannot readily afford, so that you will not run into problems.
I don't think
it brings a lot of pressure, you know.
I don't think the number of children is the issue, because I've seen somebody who's got just a child and could not manage that child. I've seen parents with just 1 child, some with 2, and they couldn't manage the children. They just couldn't manage the children.
They didn't have the time, or they didn't have the know-how.
Thank you, no time. Okay. The mother is running very early in the morning to work. The father is also running very early in the morning to work. The children are left at the mercy of maids. Other times, the children are left at their own mercy. How do you expect that children to you know, how do you expect them to be responsible?
It still comes down to occupying your kids positively. Let them learn how to play a musical instrument. Let them learn a trade or handwork or something. Keep them busy positively, you know. Let them learn how to do cartoons and all that, and you know, anything to keep them busy.
The issue of verbal and physical abuse on our children, how do we overcome it? Because it's a huge challenge. How do we surmount it? How do we overcome it? How do we make it a thing of the past? Or even if you cannot stop it, how do we minimize it? Because I've come to realize that the words you say to your kids have an impact, whether negatively or positively. But in this instance, it's always negative.
Let's just try, no matter the pressure we are going through or that is on us, let's just try to be more positive and try to, you know, hold it in a bit. It's not everything you throw out there. I'm frustrated, so what? You're not the only person that is frustrated in Nigeria. The other parent that is not shouting and screaming, she doesn't have 2 heads. So let's just try to tell ourselves we can do these things. Let's just be more loving. Let's show more love. When we are correcting from a point of love, I think we will not bring out words that will make our child to go like, "Mommy hates me." No, let's show more love. I think if we show more love and understanding, our kids will come out better.
But perhaps some parents think that is weakness to show
love. No, that was then. You have to show love. Before parents, in Nigeria then, most families, your dad can't tell you, "I love you." It's like his word, like,
we're
to
not
say I love you or something. They can't
true.
Express love. Please, we have to. Because in today's world, if you don't draw a child close, the child will start keeping secrets and things from you. That's even worse than saying a child is. Once they start keeping secrets from you, you're in trouble. Anything can happen out there and they'll keep sealed lips and you won't even know. So I think we should draw our kids closer and be more loving and let them know that we are not scolding them because, we are trying to make them feel bad. We just want the best for them, and I believe we can do it.
You know, so what's the let's exclude the negative impact social media have on our kids, because you're not there, you're at work, your husband is at work, the adults may be busy doing other things, and some of us parents are quick to buying smartphones for our kids. Oh, that smartphone will occupy these children, particularly this period of COVID-19 where all our kids had to like do their lessons online. You know, after online, perhaps you're even at work while the child is attending the online class. You're already at work. Like a friend of mine was telling me, okay, I'm here at your studio now, my kids are home studying online. The moment they are done with that, what else are they going to do with the phone? You know? So how do we, phones occupy our children these days, and a lot of them go to sites where they have no business going to.
So we can minimize the data we buy for them. The data. Well, you know that, 50 MB, maybe 50 MB will do for the assignment and the online thing. Give them just that. Don't give them more than that. Once they are done, you know that, They don't have.
But you know that you are not there to. I was discussing with a child, and I said, okay, you're on this on yourself. You're on this by yourself.
Okay.
So what do you do when your parents are not there? I said, well, sometimes it will browse or something. That's okay. When you're writing exams online, how do you do it? I said, well, sometimes he may want to go and check his notes, you know, when he's been asked questions and doesn't have answer. It's all he needs to do is just to switch off the video. And then he will consult his notes and textbooks. And before you know what is happening, he's giving an answer and it's done. I said, really? He said, yes. And he calls that being smart. The parents are not there, the teachers are not there. All he needs to do is just switch off the video, consult his textbook, and then go online and deliver the answer. And that ends that. You know, and then I said, okay, while you're on that, do things pop up? You say, yes. There are some sites that will just, there are some sites that will just pop up. So whether you give them 50 MB or whatever MB, when those sites pops up, the child is curious by nature. And then they go there, press on that, whatever stuff that popped up. And then what they say is pornography and all of that. Some violence.
That's where we come to where we talk about sex education. Educate your kids. There are things meant for your age. There are things that shouldn't be done. There are places on your body nobody should touch at it. Look, discipline.
How many parents talk sex education?
So that's the
how many?
That's what we are all on about now. Please talk to your children, educate them. The school can't do everything. You, the parents, do your best too. I mean, then you should pray for them. If you're a Christian, uphold them in prayers. I mean.
That's very, very interesting. We're trying to see how we can raise our children without violence, because what we see these days are alarming. Okay, if you go to the social media, a lot of things happen. A lot of things happen. As recent as yesterday, a lady was dancing. Then there's this little boy of about, say, 5 or 6. The young man was naked, and this lady was dancing, and the guy was just putting his head into the lady's dress. And before you know what is happening, the little boy already is already having some stuff on his mind already.
He has watched it somewhere
already, and I'm beginning
to wonder. He didn't just start doing it. He has watched it somewhere.
Child?
Yeah, he has watched it somewhere. He didn't just start on his own to do some certain things. He saw it somewhere, and he feels it's okay. So, oh, that's what he's done. He doesn't even know that what he's doing is wrong.
So when parents quarrel, because we've said that, you know, having a violence-free society for our children have to start from the home. When parents quarrel, they say that they should know where to draw the line. We're not saying that you should not quarrel. Why do we quarrel? To know our boundaries. Of course, so that tomorrow you will not repeat the same thing, all right? But when parents quarrel and then they don't just say words, they vomit those words. Oh my word, if you see where some parents quarrel, you'll be amazed and you wonder, will these people ever kiss again? But of course they do. But what happens to those words that have been
out there and the kids
poured out already, and the kids, and those words are already, you know, those words have already started manifesting in the lives of those children?
Well, we'll just pray. Maybe we start campaigning on more peaceful homes, on how to treat your quarrels, or, I mean, we just have to, as parents, we have to think of the kids. Because if as a mother you're thinking of your kids and you have an issue with your husband, when you remember your kids, there's a way you're going to comport yourself. Except you don't have genuine love for your kids, then you just want to spoil their lives with the kind of things you do in the house with your husband and expose the children to all sorts of nonsense, you know. But when you think of the kids, at times you just walk away. Walk away. You're getting angry, you want to start coming out with those words, just swallow it.
But it's hard though. Sometimes it's very hard because
we are talking of kids in the house. Actually, just seeing your kids around, because somebody comes and is trying to provoke me and my kids are around. When I look at them, I have to caution myself that no, my kids are around. There are some things I can't do in front of my kids.
Is it a sign of weakness? Because some
it's not a sign of weakness. I think it acts as a kind of restraint to me. Once I see, oh, my kids are around, there are things I can't do in front of them. You know, I have teenagers now, so I am still conscious of the fact that there are some things I shouldn't be seen doing in front of my kids.
So one has to be very careful.
Yes.
Okay, so parents, you just have to be very careful what you do when your kids are around, because I know that it is wrong for parents to be naked in the presence of their kids. Some persons will say it doesn't matter, but it does. Parents should know how to comport themselves decently. You have to start with how you dress and the kind of words that come out of your mouth. They have to be edifying. Otherwise, the children are going to pick the negative vibes from the parents or from anybody around, and then they begin to act on those negative vibes. And then what do? Then you start having children who will misbehave, definitely. The other day, two brothers were quarreling. I don't know what happened on the street, and one brought machete, the other one brought an axe and said, okay, I'm going to hit you with it. And I was like, and somebody said, and they are brothers. And the mother was like, that's your business, kill each other. I said, madam, that's not how to talk. You know, so whatever we want our children to be, we should, you know, start acting it. If you have not been behaving that way, you should start acting it so that your children will copy from you. It's usually not what you say that they listen to. It is what you do that they copy. So if we must, you know, train our children or bring up our children without violence, then we should start doing peace. You know, and then if you are a single mother, or you find that you are a single mother does not necessarily mean that you're under a curse or that you're carrying a curse. Why don't you bring forth the baby? You could give the baby to your parents to train for you if you cannot hold that baby. Okay, there are loads and loads of orphanage homes everywhere.
You can handle the kids.
You can instead of, you know, maltreating that child because of the mistake of the father, you know, you can as well, you know, look for a good orphanage and take that child to. Is that not better than leading a child to commit suicide with violence? So let's try and be what we want our kids to be. There are some parents who want to live their lives through their kids. You know, the mistake they made in the past, they want to right that mistake through their children. That's not possible, okay? They've got their own lives to live. So let's do peace. If we do peace within ourselves,
let's respect them and let them know that we respect them. Let's listen to them more. Let's talk to them more.
Okay.
You know, it's not all about battering, and at times sit down with your child, ask for his views or his own, you know, listen to them more. If you listen more, I think it will reduce the shouts and the violence.
All right, Didi, thank you for being on the program, Woman to Woman. All right, guys, this is what we're going to do today. Next week, we'll bring you another topic. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.